Katare, Assistant Professor in Department of Electronics and Computer Engineering, Walchand Institute of Technology, Solapur. Today I am going to conduct this video lecture on this topic, that is best coding practice in the C programming. Learning outcome. So after completion of this session, student will be understand the proper coding conventions. Okay, enhance coding efficiency and security, implement robust error handling, improve coding maintainability. So in this session we are going to cover these points. First we are going to see introduction of the best coding practices in C programming. These are the points in this, the how we can follow the best coding practices. One is the proper variable naming, after that proper indentation and formatting, using the braces, using the constant values, using the global variables, handling memory allocations, optimizations, using the loops for better performance, implementing the proper error handling, use comments and documentation. So these are different points we are going to cover in this video session. So first of all, we need to understand to student what this best practices is important to them while doing the programming. Okay, so a student usually follow the syntaxes in that particular any programming language, that may be C, Java, Python, like that any programming language, they follow the syntaxes. But as important as to follow the syntax, this is also important that they should follow the best practices. So why? Actually that is syntactically correct they are writing, but if they are following the best coding practices, okay, so the code, whatever they written the code, that becomes more and more readable, efficient and maintainable. Okay, to achieve these all the goals, so students have to follow the best coding practices in any programming. So in this session we are going to see specific in the C programming. Okay, also it helps to prevent the error and security issues. Okay, we know that there are different errors are there may be at run times, they may be occur, so some security issues. So all this, to achieve this, to handle those runtime error, to handle them security issue, we have to follow the best practices in that programming. So first of all we are going to see the first point here in this. So first, follow proper variable naming conventions. Okay, when suppose any beginner programmer is there as a student, they are beginner in that particular programming, so while using the name of the variable, so they should not use like that ABC, PQR, LMN, AB, XYZ, like that. Okay, so these are not syntactically wrong, but when we are providing the proper meaningful name to that variable, means automatically when we will read its name, we'll understand what actually we are storing in that variable, whether we are storing value of anything. Here you can see example. Okay, here we can see example student age, means automatically when we read this describes that name itself describe in that variable we are going to store the age of the student. Okay, while assigning name we should follow the camel case or snake case. So what is mean by this camel space? Okay, so we know that when we are assigning the name to any variable, the space is not allowed. Suppose we want to use the multiple words in the single variable. For example, student age, that name contains two variables, two names actually. That single variable name contains two words, one is student, another is the name. Okay, so we have to write that continuous without space, but while writing that, first words all should be in small letter, and in second word, suppose in second word first letter we are taking as capital, means that will differentiate that second word is starting from that capital letter. Okay, here you can see the student age in the camel case we are taken that. Okay, camel case, student age, second word that age, its first letter A is capital is taken, so immediately we are going to know its student's age is there. Another method is that variable naming is that snake case. Okay, here instead of space we can take their underscore. We know that the underscore is allowed in the name of the variable, so instead of the space we can take their underscore. Okay, so we can see there in the second here in the example you can see float item price. Okay, that is good, we can say. Why that is good? Because we are not taken space, we have differentiating these word using underscore. Okay, so this is an very good example, that is student age and item price. So here we can see the third example, that just we are declaring their int x y. So this is bad, this is not descriptive. Okay, we don't know, when we will read that x and y, we will not understand that what actually value we are storing there. Okay, so we should follow this, that we should take meaningful and descriptive names, as well as we should follow these method, that is camel case and snake case. The second method or second the point here best coding is that maintain the proper indentation and formatting. Okay, so in C programming, so when we are taking any conditional statements like else, or when we are declaring any functions, okay, so all the statements inside that function have started with the indentation. That indentation means, what is actual indentation means, that is one tab space or four spaces or a tab, that is called the indentation. So what is the advantage of that? Okay, when we are taking the proper indentation, okay, so we will get to understand that particular which statements comes under which loop, in which if else block, whether they belongs to which if else block, if block or else block, or that for block, or that particular statement belongs to which function. We get to understand that easily, and that code become more and more understandable, readable and maintainable. Okay, we'll get to understand which statement belongs to which particular block, so that the indentation is very important. So here we can see that this is an example, first example, that int main, int x equal to 10, if x greater than 5, print that x greater than 5. So here we can see without any indentation the code is written. Okay, compiler will compile this and the code will get execute without any error. Okay, but what is the issue here is that this code is not readable. Why? Because when we will read that printf x is greater than 5, will not get understand whether this is belong to any block, whether it is belongs to where, actually what block of where it is belongs. Okay, so here very good example, here again that same example is written here with proper indentation. Here we can see int main is a function, and within that whatever the block of statement they are, one indentation is taken here. Okay, before writing that statement the indentation, one tab space is taken. Okay, so this all the statement, that 1 2 3 4 5 statements are there, 5 lines of code are there, they all have taken one indentation, one tab space. Okay, next when here second line you can see if x is greater than 5. So after that in that block one printf statement is there, there is also one tab is taken, means that is not written here, and in the line of that if, that is taken one tab. So we'll easily get to understand that this printf belongs to this if block. These all the lines of code belongs to this main function. So this code becomes more readable. When any error occurs, we'll easily get to understand, we easily track the error in that code. So to make our code more maintainable, readable, and to handle the error easily, we have to maintain there the proper indentation and the formatting. Use the braces. So we know that when any block it starts, for example that any function, for example in a previous example we have seen main function, when we are writing the int main opening round close bracket, after that immediately we are taking the curly bracket. What is meaning of this curly bracket? Means opening curly bracket indicates to compiler that it tell to compiler that here the actually the block of code is started, block of that if is started. Okay, after if suppose we are taking that opening curly bracket means there the if block is starting, after int main we are taking the opening curly bracket means there the actually the block of main is starting, and when we are taking the closing bracket we will easily understand that compiler is that there the block is closed is there. Okay, so easily we will get to know. But when suppose that block contain the single line, okay, so if we are skip the curly braces means that will be okay, but when we are going to add the second statement within that, okay, that will not be correct way, because when we are adding multiple statements curly bracket is compulsory there. So if suppose that block contains single statement means then also we have to use the curly bracket. So in future suppose we are adding number of lines in that block, so any that meaning of that code becomes same as the previous. So next point here is that use the const for constant values. We have prevents the accidental modification in the values. We know that, for example, here some values are like that, they have to write the same values. We don't want to change the values of that. For example, you can see here there is a pi. We know that pi's value is same. So when we declare, we want to declare as a constant means further suppose by mistake we are want to change, we are changing, that means that is not allowed by that, because that already we have declared as a constant. So suppose we have not declared that variable as a constant means there is change in that values is allowed, the modification is allowed. So to avoid that modification we have to declare that variable as a constant. After that avoid the using the global variable. So as possible we have to use the local variable as per requirement. When that is required in that block only we have to declare that. So maximum we have to try to use the local variable instead of the global variable. Here in this slide we can see that here is the global variable is used, that is modified into the modify function. So instead of that in this function we can see we are declaring the local variable, that is we can see in the main, that is local var is declared, okay, that is modified in this modify function. We are passing the value and there in that function the modification is done, that variable is returned. So we should avoid using the global variable. Handle the memory allocation properly. Okay, malloc function, we know that malloc function is used to declare the dynamic variable. As per our requirement we can reserve the variable, number of variable, that amount of memory we can allocate whenever we require. So there we are using malloc calloc functions. Okay, so here we can see in this example we are reserving the size of the memory, that is the integer means 4 bytes we are reserving, we are using that, we are within we are storing that value, and after usage immediately we should free that allocated memory so that further that memory can be reused by the another variable. So that memory unnecessary we should not reserve that, we immediately after use we should free that. So optimize the loops for better performance. We know that loop means iteratively, that is iteratively working loop until that condition is false. Okay, so in previous example we can see that condition. Okay, look at the condition is that I less than or equal to size of array divided by size of array of 0. So in every iteration suppose that that for loop is iterating 10 times, just consider that for loop is iterating 10 times, means 10 times that size of is calculated. 10 times means for every iteration the 2 times size of will be calculated. So instead of that, that size of should be calculated previous, that length equal to in further we can see there int length equal to size of array divided by size of array of 0. So we can see that length is calculated once. So in iteration that variable is used, that value is used, so that is recalculation, again and again same calculation is avoided, so that the time will be less of that execution, so that we are optimizing that loop. Implement the proper error handling. Okay, we know that when any program we are writing, suppose that any operations are failed, for example you can see here we are opening the file, suppose that file is not getting or that file is not present in our system, but when we are trying to open that, so there should we have to consider that case, and we should write that what message we have to print there to the user, that file not found. Suppose we have not written this, means user will not get understand what is happening, so error should be handled properly, so that programmer or user will get to understand what is wrong thing is happening there. So handling the error is also important. We have to consider all the cases, successful cases and failure cases, and like that we have to write the code there. So using comment is also important for the documentation. Suppose there are the group we are working, any statement we are writing, any block of the code we are writing, what is the purpose of that, we have to write there inside the code, so easily when any person is working on the same, so he will get to understand that what is the purpose of that particular code of the block, particular statement. For that the comments are using, and further for documentation also that is used. So what is the conclusion of this session is that we have seen the best programming practices in the C programming that will enhance the code readability, maintainability and the efficiency of the code. So proper variable naming, indentation and memory management reduce the error and improve the proper program structure. So whatever we are writing the code, that will become more and more readable, maintainable, secure coding techniques, error handling, that is error is itself handling the runtime error in that code. So by adopting these practices, the developer can write robust, scalable, efficient C programs. Thank you.